I want to show you this photo. This is a photo of my husband, Richard, and he has many roles in our clinic, but looking at numbers and dashboards just isn't one of those things because he's just not really that into it, to be honest. But a couple of years ago, we were looking at our numbers and looking in February, I think it was February or March, and we were having a look between the period of November to March. And he pointed to this dip that we had, which was the January time after coming back from our shutdown. And I started to say all the things that I'd heard from families around school holidays. And he said, but so what? Like, who cares? Some of those things were that kids were tired, there were other siblings at home, it was a really tricky time of the year, people were going on holidays. And he said, really? That's a harder time when there's no work for parents, there's no school, there's no homework, there's no routines. And it really got me thinking that probably is one of the best times for us to be doing therapy because of all of those reasons that I had previously dismissed. Now, although I'm talking from a point of view of a paediatric clinic around school holidays, this really is a universal issue. It's an issue that lots of clinics face at different times of the year and for different reasons. So hands up if you know what times of the year in your clinic you see those peaks and troughs of revenue coming in. Most of us. And most of us will look at our statistics from week to week, or we might look at them at the end of the financial year, or we might look at them at the end of the calendar year. But rarely do we look at January 1 year to January the next year, or February to February, March to March. And really it's by doing this that we see those less obvious trends where we see some downturn in our revenue. So some of the reasons could be those seasonal changes, so it could be winter to summer. It could be related to religious holidays. I know in our clinic we have a lot of families that cancel afternoon appointments around Eid because it's breaking fast. So if we didn't look at those trends throughout the year, it's something that we probably would have skipped over. It could be due to holiday celebrations and different referral trends. So if you've got referrers that are also going on holidays around that summer time, you might likely to have that dip as well. So there's lots of reasons why that I am talking from a paediatric point of view, but you'll be able to resonate as well. We need to challenge the norm. So what if instead of accepting the norm, we did challenge it? What if instead we looked at each of those barriers and wanted to flip them? So if we take, for example, kids being out of routine, and it's sort of what parents for us see as maybe messing things up a little bit, what if we saw it as more flexibility? And what if we saw that meant that we could offer some group programs or excursions or different times to come in? If the reason that we're told is because there are other siblings at home, what if we took that as an opportunity to generalise those skills, to have siblings come into sessions? There's usually a way that we can flip those barriers if we look deep enough. So this is really the opportunity for us to map out our time. So if we created a timeline in our clinic that looked from January to December, we will be able to have a look at those peaks and troughs and be able to make those forward plans. So our role as business owners really is to find the barriers, to dig deep and look hard, to challenge them, to create new opportunities from them, to really flip them, like I'd said. And then it's time for us to get proactive. A lot of us, we tend to be a bit reactive to times of the year where we have those decreases in revenues, and that's the time where we have to act, or it's just leading up to that time where we know January is going to be a bit tricky. But what if we had planned it back in July, August, September for those times? And the last thing is we need to develop those systems of support for our team and for ourselves as well. This is just some numbers from our clinic. So this was back at that time where Richard and I were having a look at our numbers. We looked at that period of the 2 weeks after our shutdown, and we were sitting at around a 40% reduction in our revenue when we compare it to different times of the year where we have stability in our revenue. So we knew we had to do something a little bit different. So what we did that following year, so in 2021, the lead up to 2021, is we looked at each of those times and we made a proactive approach. So we worked out some new things that we could do, new groups that we could do, excursions, telehealth. I think it was, there was still some residual COVID going on where we had to be flexible and creative anyway. But what we did is we really looked at having siblings come into sessions, doing telehealth with families that are on holidays, creating programs for kids while they're on holidays at the beach somewhere so that we could still continue to help our families get progress towards goals. That year, instead of having a 40% decrease, we landed on a 27% decrease, which is a pretty big difference when we're looking at that as a whole month. But we still need to do a bit more. So that way, the next year we looked at our mindset of our team, and we decided that that would be a really good time for us to look at our own mindset. And what we did is we got the team to challenge us as to why we needed to have continuity of our service. And the team were able to tell us all the reasons why throughout the year we needed to make sure that people were coming to their appointments to be able to meet those goals. What we then did is we produced that with our families. So we were proactively telling them the reasons why we needed to keep therapy going. So that mind shift change was the next thing we implemented. And we saw the dip reduce again. So we only had a 15% dip that year. This year, so in the lead up to January period that's just gone, we decided to do something a little bit more. So we kept adapting, we kept on making sure that we refined the things we'd already done, so changes in mindset and the proactivity. And what we did is we created accountability for our team. So we made the systems that our team were able to then implement all of those different, all of the different programs that we had introduced. That was a 5% increase. So January this year was 5% on the stable months that we had in the year of 2022, which was huge for us, going from 40% to 5% increase. So the things we did, just to recap, is we had a deep dive into our numbers and to look for those trends. We had a look at resetting our mindset and the things that we needed to be thinking about when we were proactively planning. And then we needed to create those systems to support us, to support our team, and to support our families to attend those sessions.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Melinda a question from Slack here. From Lauren. What shutdown timeframe are you planning this year?
Each year we normally do 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 2 weeks and a little bit more, depending on where Christmas falls in the calendar. But for us, it is 2 to 2.5 weeks, and it will be the same this year.
Hi, I'm Rhiannon. I have a physio clinic and Pilates studio in rural WA. So my question is for Mel. We're a farming community. We have a significant downturn mid-December through January when people are really busy, also away on holidays. In terms of creating ideas for how you can implement new programs and things like that, what did you do? Did you reach out to other clinics? Did you just sit down and brainstorm the life out of it? Did your team bring ideas? Like, how did you get to that point?
A bit of both. So we sat down in a team meeting and we jotted down literally all the reasons that parents were coming to us, were presenting to us that they couldn't come. So some of it was that they were on holidays themselves. Some of it was that they had extra family over. There was lots of reasons. And then next to each one of those, we practically went through and went, okay, well, if that's the case and they're on holidays at the beach somewhere, what are ways that we could introduce speech therapy or physio or OT whilst they're at the beach? And then we come up with some really good ideas that were think outside the box. Usually within our clinic, it wasn't so much of the sharing with other clinics, but we just thought outside the box and worked out, well, could we videotape some of our sessions, like for us in PEDS, it's play school style, so that they just hit play in their hotel room and they get the therapy session? Or is it that we do a phone call with the parent to have progress and do more of a consult over the phone? So just lots of different ways based on each of those things that were presented to us as to why they couldn't come in.